Today's episode is brought to you by Reprint and Repurpose. Reprint and Repurpose is a small fabric business. They have so much fun creating upcycled fabric, offering crafters like you an earth-friendly fabric choice that can be used in all your projects from quilts to apparel. Please visit Reprint and Repurpose online at reprintandrepurpose.com and use the code PODCAST10 for a discount on your order. Thank you so much, Reprint and Repurpose. And now, here's the show. Welcome to episode 189 of the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Craft Industry Alliance is a community for craft professionals where you can strengthen your creative business, stay up to date on industry news, and build connections within our supportive trade association. Check it out at craftindustryalliance.org. Today on the show, we are talking about building a business as a mixed media artist with my guest, Mou Saha. Mou is a mixed media artist and teacher. She's been published over 700 times in print media, appearing on PBS TV shows, and she's created several coloring books of her own. Her academic background in clinical psychology fuels her ongoing quest for wellness through creativity. Mou is a mom of 3 and lives in New Jersey with her family. She can be found online at Mou Saha, that's MOUSAHA.com, and on Instagram as mo.saha.studio. Mou Saha, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to talk with you and to learn more about your career. So let's start with where you grew up. I know that you grew up in India. So tell us a little bit about what your childhood was like and where exactly you grew up.
Well, I grew up in Calcutta, India, which is eastern part of India. And it was a very busy city. We lived almost in the middle of the city. And I was an only child growing up. My mom gave up her job when I was born, but how it panned out was she had so many responsibilities toward the extended family and everything. I spent a lot of time on my own, and I learned quite early how to keep myself entertained. And she would buy me art supplies, and I would play with them, and hours would go by. Nobody would even know that there's a child in the house. And she's creative, very creative herself, but I come from a long line of women who are quite creative, but nobody would ever think of becoming an artist or making that in any kind of, use it in any kind of gainful way, so to speak. But it was definitely a way of life for them. And I just loved seeing them do these little things with such great love.
And what kind of things would they make themselves? Like, did they sew, or what kind of other creative things did they make?
Cooking was one of the things. My dad's mom was very good. It's just how she chopped the vegetables. You would amazing. It's just, and then my mom's mom and my mom, they would sew, they would crochet. My mom made all of my dresses. Like, she would buy the littlest things and put things together that just, when you saw the little pieces, you cannot imagine that could come together like that. And that was something, it was just always in me, I suppose, and to give it a voice.
Yeah.
That just, I believe, went a long way.
Right. Just watching their thoughtfulness, it sounds like. That's wonderful. Yeah. And so what did, it sounds like your mother was home taking care of the extended family. What did your father do for work?
Oh, he was in revenue administration, administrative services with the government. So, yeah, what he did on the side, other than his job, was he was an amateur actor. So he worked with the theater, and there were a lot of creative people coming to our house all the time. And I had a very early exposure to creative adults, and I enjoyed talking to them, hearing them. I used to mostly hear what they were saying, but it was always fascinating when they asked me what I was doing, what I wanted to do, and I would show them my sketchbook, and I was rubbish at it, but it didn't matter. I was just so excited that they even wanted to see. And I shared whatever I made, and I used to draw a lot, and it's like little scenes and everything all around me. I was always drawing. My mom could hardly keep up with the supplies of paper and pencils and stuff. I was always that cultural exchange, books being read out loud by mom. I remember the evenings that we used to have, not all the time, but sometimes. My father would read out loud whatever he was reading, and my mom would sometimes crochet or knit, or she had a garden. She's an avid gardener. She would be gardening. It was all happening in a balcony. It was not a lot of space, but still, the creativity was not bound by anything. That is what I began to see very early. And I would be drawing, and everybody was creative in some way, and there was room for that to grow and develop.
Wow, that's wonderful. And so, what did you go on to study when you went to college?
I studied clinical psychology, and at a point of time, I was encouraged by a lot of people, like, why don't you go into some kind of fine art study? And that would be a great fit for you. And while my mom would also take me to these sit and draw children's art contests, where you go there with your little things, and they give you a piece of paper, and they tell you, okay, these are the topics, say, for example, summer day or something like that. And they will give you 1, 2, sometimes 3 hours, and you come up with a sketch, and you draw, you paint, and you let it dry, and you submit. And it's all happening within that time range. And then they choose 3 winners, and the winners would get little prize packages. My mom learned about that, and she would take me to places, and I found myself going to these places, and I used to go because I used to enjoy what everybody else was making around me. How were they interpreting things? It was never anything serious, but I did win a lot of prizes. And then the prizes, because they were all giving art supplies, right? So it was very exciting. And then when I was about 8 years old, I started learning with Ramananda Bandyopadhyay. He is a very well-known artist in West Bengal, in India. I mean, he's well-known all over India. But I knew him at the time when he had a little kids' art school associated with the Ramakrishna Mission. And my mom saw there was a kid standing there with like an art pad, and she asked her, oh, that's very nice. Where do you learn here? And she said, so my mom said, okay, so I'm going to get a form. And that's how I got it. We had to do interview. It was obviously, I didn't know the seriousness of any of it at that time, but it was exciting. A lot of people came. It was a bigger deal than I knew. But I got in, and for the next 5 years, I learned different things in that school, like basically not just drawing, painting other things, crafting. And that was a huge influence. And by the time I was 9, I think that was the first time my painting was taken to West Germany for like some cultural exchange, as part of a cultural exchange, to be displayed in one of their museums. And after that, my stuff started coming in magazines. It was not something I was submitting or anything, but children's magazines. So and so art school had an exhibition, and these are some of the stuff the kids are making. And my teacher, my guru, he would put my art there. And I always thought I was the worst in class, and I was. And you know how kids at that stage are quite vocal about how they feel about other people. And so they would make fun of me. And we were supposed to draw some animals. I drew a lion, and somebody told me, "What is that?" So I told them, "It's a lion." And he said, "Oh, it looks like a donkey." And I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, he's really right. I am not very good at it." But there was, if I were to put all the things people say that was not encouraging on one side of the scale, and I put how I felt about making things, the joy I felt always weighed more. So that was my sole reason at that point to keep doing it. And then around, I believe when I turned 11, I got a national scholarship for painting, and that kept me on tour for till I left India, almost.
Okay. And so did you leave India to go to college, or when did you leave?
No. So when I wanted to really started considering, maybe I could consider taking like art as my academics. And my father was, that's when the real cultural stronghold takes over. And he said, "Well, you can always do this as a hobby. I want you to really go to college and study something more regular." And they wanted me to study journalism at that point. But the political picture around that time was not something that made them feel safe about me becoming a journalist. So they said, "Well, study something else, maybe an academic career down the line, teach at a college or something like that." So I chose to do clinical psychology, which did not have a lot of scope back then in Calcutta. And I started setting my target as going to Bangalore and study at NIMHANS, which was even now one of the best institutions to study about your neuro developmental and all of those things. But somehow that was not what life had in plans for me. I got married, and this is like an arranged marriage that happened out of the blue. And then I got we got married, and a week later I was in the States.
Oh, wow.
And this is an arranged marriage. I did not know the person I was getting married to. And, when arranged marriages are made in India, or at least in our families, all they see is, okay, the girl comes from a decent background. She is decent to look at. She looks healthy and is educated. And the guy makes enough money, looks okay. It's all good. And so I came here, and it was very, I don't know how to put it. It was exciting in a way. It was challenging in many ways. It was a lot of learning new things and unlearning old things, just relevance of it all.
And your husband, he was already living in the United States.
He was already living in the United States, and he was working here as a software engineer. And it all just happened pretty quickly.
Wow.
And when we got here, he did like that I had an interest in arts. He has a lot of interest in making things with his hands. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of time, but when he does make it, he likes to carve things or, build things. He has that. So he kind of thought that is something we have in common with each other. And when I came, at first I thought, oh, great, a girl coming from India now can to the US, where she can study clinical psychology in a much more it opens everything up. But that was not how it went. And for the longest time, I just kept retracing the steps. Like, what did I do wrong? Why is this not a viable option anymore?
So when you got here and you tried to pursue your academic career or continue to pursue it,
Yeah.
it sounds like you were running into roadblocks. Was it a language barrier or was there something else?
No. Language was not a barrier. Of course, English is not my first language. So, there are those differences, but that was not what it was. It was like, at first it was like, well, we just got married. Let's get to know each other a little bit. And I had already applied for my PhD program in India. I got accepted. And here I was coming here with an understanding that I could do that. But then finding out that it is not as easy to walk that path, given the fact that everything that I had done over there, I would really have to start over.
Oh, I see.
And that would be a matter of a lot of time and expense. And my husband's family, I did not think they would be wanting to, this is not what they have in mind. They are seeking somebody who is going to be a wife, somebody who's going to be the mother of their grandchildren, and all of those things,
So the expectations and then plus the idea of having to start over really was just an overwhelming feeling of like, I don't think this is going to happen.
Oh, I tried.
You did, yeah.
And it seemed like this was happening pre 9/11. So at that time, you could hop on a bus. The only thing that I had at that time was we were living close to the University of South Florida campus, Tampa campus. And the bus that would come, because that area had many apartments for students. And one day I just wanted to get on that bus. And I told the driver, hey, this is my deal. I just want to find out a little more about USF and may I ride the bus? And he said, yeah, sure. So I rode the bus. I asked around, okay, where is the Department of Psychology? Can I go and can I talk to people? And that is how I came upon this professor, Dr. Spielberger. And it was interesting because in my master's thesis, I had used his tests, like the connection between anger and a lot of negative emotions. And I had used it in the context of how does that impact your creative expression? Is there a real difference between the anger level, for example, negative emotion level of a sculptor who is putting out or carving out or chiseling out something versus somebody who, say, a watercolor painter? I think the scope of that was very limited, the few people that I did get to talk to, but it was fascinating. I feel that wellness and creativity seed was sown long, long back. And so I met him and I told him that I had used his tests, and he said I could come and just read papers with him. And I said, I'm not a student here. He said, that's all right. So I started doing that. And just being around him, you pick up so many things around people who are so dedicated to what they do. After a while, I told my husband, well, if I cannot do my PhD, complete that, and if I have to start over all of that, at least I want to do a certification course that's about to happen. And the language, while language itself was not a barrier, but how English is spoken in India is very different from how English is spoken in the US. So I couldn't always pick up what was being said. And obviously, language is spoken in a manner that is also different, even though it's the same language. So I had to overcome those hurdles. But even after all of that, what I found was that it was certainly my wanting to continue to do this was hurting a lot of the present moment. And it was also going to impact the future.
Wow.
So at that point of time, that battle became very internal. I could tell that I couldn't overcome this, and I did not have the awareness or consciousness at that time where I could understand, okay, what is this trying to tell you? All of this was going smoothly. All of a sudden, what is it trying to tell you? What are you not learning? So, and all my life, I've been taught, if you hit a wall, you push through. And
Right.
this was a wall I couldn't push through.
Right. I want to take a minute now to talk about our sponsor, Reprint and Repurpose. Reprint and Repurpose is a small business whose goal it is to keep the craft of fiber arts flourishing in a fun and an environmentally sustainable way. Owner Bianca Spizziri reprints and repurposes fabric to be used again for great projects. She upcycles fabric by printing it with new designs, giving it new life. She and her team create their own unique designs and then block print them onto the fabric. All of their designs are totally original, and Bianca is a big believer in conscientious crafting. By using their upcycled fabric, you are helping with this movement. And of course, it's great to take a break from screen time and nurture your hobbies. Reprint and Repurpose is a truly unique upcycled fabric shop that offers an earth-friendly option for all sewists and crafters. They source high-quality, high thread count 100% cotton fabric from thrift stores, dead stock fabric, and pretty much anything that they can revive to get used again. And they use non-toxic fabric ink that is machine washable. So here's how the process works. First, they start with sketches for the designs. This is Bianca's favorite part, coming up with all the different print ideas. Anything is possible, she says. Next, they transfer the designs onto rubber blocks and carve them out to make the stamps. Then they hand print onto the fabric. They source and pre-wash the secondhand fabric. It's all 100% cotton, and they use the non-toxic machine washable ink. Finally, they cut, package, and ship the fabric out to you, right to your doorstep. She says that our creative customers transform this wonderful fabric into projects from quilts to bags to home goods to clothes and pretty much anything else you can imagine. So shop online at reprintandrepurpose.com and follow along on Instagram at reprintandrepurpose_shop for the latest news. And be sure to use that discount code, podcast10, to get a discount on your order. It expires May 1st, 2021. Thank you so much, Reprint and Repurpose. And now, back to my conversation with Mou. What did you do to get past the stage? Because even though this is a really unique, maybe to you, moment, I do think it's resonant for people in other stages and parts of their lives where they've hit a wall that feels impossible to climb. And so I wondered if you used art to get past this or how you got past this, because this does feel like it was an insurmountable problem for you.
Yeah, I think it was literally killing me internally. I would torture myself, like retrace the steps. I felt like I've disappointed everybody. And most of all, I was given an opportunity that I didn't know how to take advantage of almost. And by this time I was already pregnant, and I felt that the way I was reacting to this internally was not healthy. So at that point of time, I just had to, for a moment, just release it all.
Wow.
Like I have to just let it all go.
Right.
And that has been a life lesson in this lifetime for me. And just to let go. I can't do it. And while everybody else also had things to say, like, oh, you're just giving up. And some people would say, why did you expect that life would continue the same way? There was validity in every perspective, but none of those were mine. So I always enjoyed making art. And I remember my husband was always very generous. He's like, you don't have to work. I want to do the work. You stay home, you raise children. Like the traditional role of a woman is what he was subscribing to. And I wasn't raised that way. So I was going to a private English medium school, which is not something Every girl in India, at least not back then, was doing it. So all of a sudden, I had all of this burden on my shoulders, and I just felt so worthless for not being able to do anything with it. But then comes a time when you know that you just have to let it go. There's nothing I can do. And I bought the biggest canvas I could find. There was this
Oh,
art shop, and I started painting. And I think it took me well over 2 weeks to finish that painting. But during that time, every time a negative thought came to me, I just stopped. It's like, no, I can't think negative thoughts and paint this painting. I'm painting this painting for my baby, and I'm not going to think a negative thought.
right.
So I painted that painting with bright yellows, and it's like, and I began to see that the old feeling that I had, that no matter what is negative in my life, if I put it on one arm of the scale, it doesn't weigh as much as the joy I get out of this.
Right, which is
Yes,
that
that
same
comfort.
old comfort exactly from back when you were a child in school and
Yeah,
being critiqued by your peers.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So really art was your way out
Art
of
was
that.
always like, I had never thought of art as anything more than a hobby because I never really had enough time to think about it. I had a very busy schedule. I was a competitive swimmer, and school had pressures. So it was never really like I did a lot of things quite mechanically a lot of the times. I just didn't have enough time or guidance to sit down and really think, why am I doing this? But this was a time period when I was I was still not guided, but it was coming from within. Like the things that you hear when you don't talk, in your silence, when your mind is not chattering, the things that start to come to you. And I just started painting for the duration of my pregnancy. I painted. Then I had my baby, and I realized after some time, once after recovering from childbirth and all of those things, that I did not have time for painting. And it was very hard because we didn't have anybody helping us out at that point of time. And I didn't know anything. Growing up as an only child, I did not see other children raised. I had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to like live each day and keep the baby alive. That was my motto. Like,
Yeah,
oh my God, I don't know anything.
right.
And there was no art happening. There was just all around, there was just overwhelm of a new baby, and like taking care of that baby, taking care of a household. We had just bought a new house. This was the time when everybody was buying houses. We bought a house, and there were this is Florida. I used to live in Florida back then, and there are crocodiles outside. We lived in this like beautiful golf course community, and there are all these wild creatures. I'm fascinated by them, and I'm scared to death. What if a snake comes in, and all of those things? Keeping the baby with me and not having any kind of outlet, and the social connections that I had at that time, there was no match in value. They were all people that my husband knew. They are his colleagues and their wives, and I was just lost, and I didn't know what I was so upset about. But then one day I went to this library. We had a beautiful library, and I pick up this magazine. It's a scrapbooking magazine called Creating Keepsakes. And I could borrow the magazine. I got it home and I flipped through it. And it was a rush of, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. It was a scrapbooking magazine. And I told my husband, I need to go and buy some things. And he said, okay, I'll take you. And so we went to Michael's, bought a lot of stuff, and I started scrapbooking. Did not know anything about acid free, did not know about anything, all those archival things.
Sure.
Had no idea, but I was making things. My baby would nap. I would hold her because she would not be put down. If I put her down, she would scream and cry. So I learned to work with one hand. Sometimes I learned to work with my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand. Whatever it was all of a sudden that little window in a dark room that was open. And about 18 months, when my baby was 18 months, I had a health scare. Like I was nursing her and I was having immense difficulty with it. So the doctor checked and they found some some growths in my left breast, and that they didn't want me to wait. And I said, well, you know what, I'm nursing my baby. I just want to, like, the baby is the main thing, right? Who thinks of their own health, especially their new mothers? They don't know that they need to take care of themselves. So I went in. It was like a Friday evening. The doctor was calling herself, and she said, well, a week from now, you need to go and have this surgically removed because we need to do a biopsy on this. And at first I was like, it was not sinking in. And then she said, well, I don't think this is not looking good based on whatever the scans and the mammograms are showing me. This is not looking good. I don't want to lie to you. I'm concerned. You have a baby, very young baby.
Yeah.
Don't delay this. And so it was a bit, my husband was having more of an emotional reaction than I was, because I was almost like stunned, like, oh, this new thing now has to be addressed, kind of thing. I don't have time for this. And then I started trying to see, if I'm going to be in surgery, God knows how long it's going to take for me to recover. I started organizing all the things that they are going to need. So he would still have to take days off from work, but I would do everything I could do to keep everything organized. And the baby was needy, especially when parents are sick. The babies get very much more needy, right? And my husband was also not home because he was trying to work in advance so he could take a few days off. And I was doing this, like, I heard from them on Friday afternoon. Between Friday afternoon and Monday afternoon, I did all the organizing, laundry, and everything that I could. And then it hit me what the doctor was saying. And I realized that I don't know how bad this is, really. So, or how much time, because, at that point, the mind constructed a different drama. Like, okay, so what if I don't recover? If this is not good, what then? And I felt like, what's most important? Like, I sat down and I asked myself, what's most important? What's the most important thing I can do for my daughter? And I don't know, because I was reading all that scrapbooking magazine and all that, I had very few photos. My father did not have a camera. I had very few photos. So I took those photos out and I wrote out letters. Whatever art paper I had, I cut them up and I stuck my pictures and I wrote letters to my daughter saying, like, hey, I don't know if we are going to read this someday together or you're going to do so alone, but here's my story. And I think it's important you know it firsthand. Everybody is going to tell you a version of me, but this is my version. I did that, and then I had my surgery. Things were not good, but because it was caught in the nick of time, that bought me a lot of time. So I came home and, like, after a little bit of time, like, once the main recovery phase was done, I was browsing the internet because I still couldn't get up and take care of things. So I was holding her, lying down with her, and I was browsing. And these were the days of, what do you call those? Message boards. And there was this thing called 2 peas in a bucket message board. And I found that somebody was having a contest. I didn't know anything about them, but it was called My Coolest Album Ever. And the magazine was simple scrapbooks. And I said, oh, what is this all about? And I looked into it, and mind you, I did not know anything about anything at this point. I just took pictures because I was taking so many photos like crazy. My husband got tired of getting them printed. He got me a digital camera. I said, okay, I'm going to take pictures of my album that I made for my daughter pre-surgery. And I sent it off, not thinking why I was doing it, but I think there was something that was guiding me, I suppose. I sent it off and I forgot about it. A month or so later, I was pregnant a second time. And I was like, I had dozed off in the afternoon, and the phone rang. I picked up. It was one Stacey Julian. I did not know who Stacey Julian was. And then she told me, hey, congratulations. You have won the grand prize. And
Oh, wow.
Thinking, oh, my God. Is this a telemarketer? What is this going on? Like, this is, then I remembered And then she explained what was going on. She asked me how I was doing, and I told her that I was doing okay. And it was quite a bit of a surprise. It hadn't sunk in because I fell right back asleep. When I got up, I checked and I remembered the phone call, and I checked my phone to see if if it was still registered in my caller ID, or I was just having a dream or something. And it was. And then the emails started coming in, and it started sinking in that I had won a prize doing something. And it was again the memories, of those sit and draw art contests that opened the door for me.
Right.
So I thought, okay, getting published is a thing then. And of course, it didn't go right into getting published or anything like that, but it did guide me in that direction.
Right. Introduce you to that there was a whole world.
Introduce me to that world.
Yeah. Which is so interesting. And so around what year, do you remember around what year that was? Just out of curiosity.
2004.
Oh, so this was a while back. This was sort of in the kind of the earlier days of the online kind of craft world.
Yes. And it was so strange because I never became a regular part of any message board. I like social media, but I don't participate in it. It's there. It has its great qualities, but I don't participate. Message boards were also that kind of thing for me. I would much rather make things, than talk about it. That was my take on it.
Although you do have a really nice Instagram account. Now.
That is the only thing I think that spoke to me, which was also very strange. I started that account when we were moving from Tampa to New Jersey. My daughter was at Duke for a summer program, and she was not moving with the family. So I said, okay, I can give the first-hand experience of the move. I'm going to post pictures of every state that we stop in. And that was the start of my Instagram account.
Oh, okay. You did it for her.
For the longest time, it had no rhyme or reason. The whole reason why an average person has a social media account is to share pictures with friends. And that's all that was. And I did not have a lot of friends following me or anything. The first time it became anything was in 2016 when I had just signed up for Creative Bug as a student. And they had a challenge. There was going to be a month-long challenge in August or September. I don't remember anymore. This was 2016. And I felt I never really I'm not that consistent. I never keep up. If I start a challenge, I've never completed 30 days in a row. It would be nice to do that. So I kind of made it I wanted to be accountable for it. So I started posting it on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's good for that.
It's a hashtag,
Right.
Nobody's going to judge me if I don't do it, but
right.
I would.
Sure.
So that was motivation enough. And I did it for a month. That month, I remember I had to travel to teach and all of those things because the scrapbooking thing was still quite the rage and it was still going on. And from scrapbooking, I had moved more into mixed media and I had this collaboration with Faber-Castell and all of those were happening. And then this was the first time when Instagram became serious. So back to the message board thing. Yeah, I don't know. I was being led there, I feel, because I really hardly went back and did message boards.
Yeah.
So after that happened and I started submitting. And of course, I got rejection after rejection. And I wanted to understand what is it that made that, but nothing else is getting accepted. Then I understood that I wasn't telling my story. I was trying to paste pretty pictures and pretty papers and stickers. It had no soul in it. So the next thing that I submitted, I wrote my story. And that opened something in a way that I had never imagined. And for the next, this is 2005, end of 2005, through 2013, for as long as those magazines existed. It's obviously 700 publications. I worked so hard. I was so grateful that this opportunity came to me when I had no hope almost. If you don't have hope, you have nothing. And it was a lifeline.
And these were scrapbooking spreads.
These were scrapbook layouts.
Yes, and layouts that you were making with papers and photos and
papers, photos, paints, whatever.
And they were documents of your own life and
documents of my children growing up,
right?
And our everyday life.
And that when you say you were telling your story versus just using pretty pictures, what kinds of things, like, were you being a little bit more vulnerable, or what kinds of things?
Definitely.
Okay.
Because what I had understood in whatever time I had spent with other people, it was like, no matter where you were born and how you were raised, whatever cultural differences you may have, there are some common core things that are common to everybody. It's universal. And those are the stories, that's what appealed to people. Like, this happened, that never made sense. This is what I learned from it. And those kinds of things. And with my children, like, there are questions, like raising children in a culture that I did not know much of. And helping them, they would come home and I was raised Hindu. And they would come home and ask, why do we never go to the church? My friends go to the church. They go to the same church. So she felt left out. My oldest, she felt left out. And she asked me this kind of serious questions. So taking the time also strengthened that understanding for me that at the very core, there is no difference. Everybody wants the same things. Everybody is hurt by the same things. And there is really, everything else is just the detail, But the core is the core. That's the same for all. And when it all happened so organically. Now I'm looking back at it, and as I'm telling you, I'm connecting those dots looking back. But when that was happening, I had no idea. Sure. I was just trying to make sense of life for myself, for my children, trying to keep like one foot in the boat that's still in India, keep that connection, and in every possible way, seeing that not everybody gets this opportunity to come and live in a different country, a different culture, or even a land that has so many more opportunities. I could not be doing what I was doing at that time if I was still living in India. Right, and that purpose began to become clear. And that is when like letting go became much easier. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I never expected to become an artist. I never expected to do anything creative in this kind of public way. It was my refuge. I was never good at it. And here I was doing something that some people in this world looked up to. Something I was doing that was speaking to them. They could relate to it, even though their story started somewhere else, looked very different, but there was some common thread, just like you were saying. And then I started to move more toward mixed media. It was no longer just photos and everything. I started playing. I started kind of easing into it that it is okay. My creativity is okay in this world. It may not be what anybody else makes, and it's okay. So when I started doing that, more opportunities began. The more I accepted myself, I felt that creativity is such a process of self-acceptance. The more I accepted myself, the right people showed up, the right opportunities showed up. And then fast forward to 2016, I was posting those pictures on Instagram. And then it turned out it was actually, there was a call to become a creative bug teacher associated with it, which I didn't know at the time. But I found out, thanks to Courtney Saruti, at the right time. And I said, okay, you know what? If this is a matter of just sending that thing, I will send it. And then they said that you have to film a video of yourself talking to the camera. And that was another thing. I was like, oh my God, I don't look good in a video. I don't sound good in a video. And all of those things that, that are so irrelevant. But the first thing that comes to mind, what I don't have. And then I just had to stop myself. Like, you know what? They are not asking me to send a video because I'm going to be a supermodel.
Right.
They are just asking me to send a picture of me teaching and me talking to a camera. That's it. Be you. And be you is the hardest thing to be. So I sent that with zero expectation. And then it turned out that I was doing what was right. Like, I don't know how to put this. Like, I was doing what was right for me. And in this case, it was good enough.
Yeah. And you have filmed many classes with Creative Bug,
yes,
including some daily challenges, which is what you first got excited about as a student at Creative Bug. And so I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what you've learned from kind of the perspective of your own artwork and as a teacher, even as marketing your own work, just in the process of working collaboratively with that team. Because I know, it's one thing to be self-trained. I mean, you had art classes as a child, but as an adult, you're more of a self-trained artist. And certainly, you've created this art career for yourself. But then when you go to their studios and you work with Creative Bug, it's a whole different level, a whole different experience. So talk a little bit about what you learned from that experience.
I think a lot of it is like my fear of being bad at art was sorted very early. I knew I was the worst. I had no expectation of being perfect, being good even. I did it because I loved it. And that is what is still true. There are many people who do much better work than me, but I love it. And that is enough. And that is, I think that has become something, this wellness through creativity. Like, why do you create? There are people who would sit down and say, oh, I can't do it like you. Why are you trying to do it like me? You do it like you, because you have to know why are you doing it. Of course, if you're going to make it into a career, then those considerations are going to come in like it does with any career. That's not the same thing as I'm talking about. Why do you create? If you are creating to sell your work, yes, you are signing up for some stress, of course, like anything else. But if you are doing it as a release of stress, then why do you care? Why it doesn't measure up to somebody else's work? Just make the time, make the space and do it. That is one of the things I learned. This is as much a lesson for me as for anybody else, because whenever I look at anybody, everybody is better than me. Any day, any given day, everybody is better than me. That's all right. I am who I am, and that is where I stand right now. And another thing, and that this is especially having to let go of a good thing that was happening with the clinical psychology, was nothing is everything. For as long as I held on to it, thinking that that's everything, I lost everything, I was losing more. But when I gave that up, I just understood nothing is everything. Today, this is it. This is important. Tomorrow, it will lead to something else maybe. Who knows? Who knows? This is something that's making me happy today. I am doing it. And I think that joy comes across in the biggest possible way. All of the publications, all of the things was not because I was perfect or that my work was better than anybody else's. It was simply because I chose to be vulnerable. I chose to say, yes, this happened, this sucks, and it felt bad. I'm trying to get over it. This is how I'm doing it. And I think giving myself permission to just be and not have to be, something big with it, keeps me going. And like around 2010, Faber-Castell was, there's a story with Faber-Castell too, because when I was about 8 years old, because I drew and painted and it was my hobby, my father's friend, he used to live in Germany, and Faber-Castell is a German company. He got me a pack of pencils. They were so precious to me, I would not sharpen them. Like, they were so blunt, but I would just not sharpen them because I didn't want them to like go away, and sharpening a pencil would make it go away almost. I got that little pencil case when I came to the US with me. That was one of the few of my belongings that I brought with me when I came, because I only came here with one suitcase. And when in 2010 they reached out to me to become one of their design team members, ambassador, their brand ambassador, I was like, wow.
How did they find you?
I somehow, like you found me, Abby, people find me. I just do my thing, people find me.
Right. Okay.
So that's how they found me. And I still have a very good relationship with them. I still continue, like every month I do blog posts for them. And that kind of started leading me more toward mixed media, more toward teaching. And last year, February of last year, just before COVID became like all the close downs and happened, I had my first fine art show, a solo exhibition, because I used to think, the worst thing, what I'm most scared of is uncertainty. But then I understood, no, what I'm most scared of is complacence and becoming stuck. And mixed media was great. I'm still doing it, but I wanted to venture back to the pure thing that I used to do before I had children. And if you could see me, you could see there was a painting right behind me. It took me 17 years to complete this painting.
Oh, wow.
I started it before my daughter was born, but I couldn't finish it because I just couldn't find the time. So I left it in a position where it was like semi-complete, but I completed it this year in January.
That's great. And I know your daughter graduated from high school past, and she's going to Johns Hopkins. Is that right?
She's going to Johns Hopkins.
And I wanted to tell you that I went to Johns Hopkins, and and so did my dad. So I have a special place in my heart for Johns Hopkins. But
she loves it. She
good. I'm so glad she's
set
happy.
Foot there, but,
Yeah, I know. But she will. It's just.
I loved it. The day I went there, my son asked me, "Why didn't you take pictures of her standing like this?" That in the scrapbooking days, I used to make them stand, and they were younger back then. They would do that. Now they won't. He said, "Well, you didn't take a picture," and I blurted out, "Well, I'll be back here." And my daughter was like, "It's like you are setting expectations. I never know if I can get in or not." And I'm like, you never know. Just because I said something, do not take it as gospel. But yeah, I'm glad she's going to this college. I loved it. That's the only college I visited with her. And I knew when I stepped foot there that she's going to come here. But I couldn't tell her that.
Right. It's a great place. She'll get a great education. So,
yes.
So that's great. And so you had this goal of getting back to doing fine art, and you had this solo exhibition, and do you have any other sort of future goals now that your kids are growing up and you're sort of entering this next phase?
Yeah. I have a 6-year-old, so I won't say I'm quite out of that.
Oh, true. Your kids are spread out. Yeah.
Yes. The first two were so close together. They were like 2.5 years apart, and I had a hard time raising them just by myself because their father was always traveling and busy, and still it is like that. But at least they are older. I'm kind of going back to that. I feel I'm in a very transitional phase where I don't exactly know what's next, but the immediate thing, anytime I try to make a big plan, life tells me that's not how it works. So I make very small plans these days, and right now I'm working on the 100-day project. I'm working on the acrylic painting with acrylic on paper. I usually work on canvas or those wood panels, but this time I decided I'm going to do this on paper. And obviously what I'm doing on day one is going to, I would see the progress by day 100, I hope. So that is what I'm doing.
That's
I have some more solo exhibitions coming up locally, mostly. But even that's a huge step, because I would have regretted had I told myself that you never went to art school. How dare you? I dared anyways. It's okay. And I sell paint, and my paintings sell. That's what is most surprising. Because when I look at that, I remember Donkey Girl. They used to call me Donkey Girl because my lines look like donkeys.
Oh,
But it's a joke almost. Like, it feels like a joke. The joke is on them. Because when all this was happening, and my teacher, he used to say, I asked him, some parent asked me, like, how on earth did he choose your painting to send to the magazine? Because our kids' paintings are better. And they are. I don't disagree with that. So I asked, and I was very innocent. I was very young. So I asked my teacher. So somebody asked me, why did you pick my painting? And he told me, I see something that they don't. And I asked him, what is it? And he said, well, I can tell you, but you would love it much more if you find it out by yourself someday. And okay. I didn't like that answer. I wish he had told me. But now when I look at it, I feel I have found my version of the answer. And that would be obnoxious tenacity. I won't give up, because it is not an external validation thing for me.
right.
It's just I have to do it. It is not something I can't not do.
Right. Right. I love that obnoxious tenacity.
Yes,
That's great.
I think that's what sets me apart.
Mo, I relate to that in other ways of my life. I'm just one of those people also who just never gives up. And so I think cheers to obnoxious tenacity. That's a great trait to have. And just doing things that you find internal joy in,
Yes.
whether or not externally other people are telling you they're any good. I think that's, I think that's fantastic. And if it's okay with you, I want to, make sure we get to your list. I know you had already recommended your 100-day project. And if anyone hasn't checked out the 100-day project, it's already going on for this year, but it's a great way to sort of tackle something. You set up your own project and you just do something for 100 days. And if you want to, you can post about it on Instagram. And it's just a great way to improve on something that you want to improve on and do every day for 100 days. So yeah, that's awesome. And then you also wanted to recommend working with air dry and oven bake clay with your 6-year-old.
Yes, my 6-year-old is very creative, and she's at that stage of life where they actually like making things with you because they love the time spent with you. And just, she's good. I look at everybody's better. And I think that, of course, I'm partial to her, but she's creative. She has that sense of humor, and that the things that she makes and the things that she says when we do it, we are really loving that activity together. Like, what we are making is so entirely irrelevant, but the process of it is just beautiful.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. That's great. I love that. And then you also wanted to recommend, I think this is a book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution. I've never read this book before.
Well, it is actually a business progress kind of book. And while it may not, seem like a very spiritual thing to read, or even artistic, so to say, I am finding it somehow very nicely fits into what I kind of, like I was telling you, it's my life lesson is to allow and to let go. And it's very hard for me, but when a book comes my way, it's undeniably comes my way. Like, I would hear 10 people say it, somebody would hand it to me, read this, to the point a book would fall off the shelf on my head. And this was one of those books. So I started reading it, and I saw, like, when we were talking about business, and I was thinking, what am I going to say? I really do not follow specific business principles. All I do is I show up every day and I do the work. And when I do it without intense expectations from it, everything that needs to come my way comes my way. And it may sound ridiculous and not at all a business thing one can follow. this book is showing me, like, small goals, week by week goals. Like, then when I wake up, what do I do today? What am I going to do this week? So that's my goal. I'm going to make at least 3 paintings, if possible 7. And yes, I understand that I may not be able to sit with my paints each day, but there will be days when I might be able to finish 2. And that's okay. I'll remain flexible with that. And I'll set a goal that this is the number of paintings I am going to finish. And if there is a need, I'm simply going to request that from the universe. That's just how it is. Remember when I was doing scrapbooking, everything was so expensive and I was not making any financial contribution. So I was very conscious about asking my husband. He would always buy me whatever I wanted, but I didn't want to take advantage of that. And I would pray, God, find a way so that I don't have to buy all of these supplies all the time. And I became part of such great design teams and magazines that I got way more stuff than I needed, and I could generously give it to people. And so they could, the things that they wouldn't otherwise buy. So for me, it's very weird. It sounds weird when I say it out loud, but that is just how it is. I need this. I would say okay, so I need this, and that's it. And then I will get back to doing what I was doing. And if I say, for example, I said, well, I want to make this money in this time because I want to buy this. And that afternoon, a commission showed up in my inbox, and I completed that commission, another teaching opportunity, and it made that exact sum that I needed.
I do think setting those intentions and saying them out loud, I agree with you. It does sound weird, but somehow making them real starts with actually saying them and not just keeping them all in your mind. Writing them down, telling them to somebody else, you know what I mean, is the first step in manifesting them. So yes, it's not going to make them magically happen, but if you never really state what it is you want to have happen, it's probably never going to happen. So so I do think that's a really smart first step. And this book is called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. So if people want to
goes by 4DX. People in business might be familiar with the 4DX method, but it's simply setting a small goal and doing things that we believe is going to move us closer to that goal, like breaking it into small chunks. Like if I say 100 paintings, oh my God, that is numbing right off the bat. But I don't do it that way. It's 3 to 7 paintings, at least 3 paintings. That's what I would hold myself accountable to. And that is how I'm moving forward. And I have completed 3 weeks. So that is how I want to keep going. And if something happens and I cannot do it, I will come back to it. I may not end with everybody else, but I'll finish my race. Whether I win, whether I place, whether I come dead last, I will finish my race, even if it takes me 365 days.
Right. I love that. Well, Mo, you are very wise, and I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Craft Industry Alliance podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And you've been listening to the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Today's episode was brought to you by Reprint and Repurpose. Reprint and Repurpose is a small fabric business. They have so much fun creating upcycled fabric, offering crafters like you an earth-friendly fabric choice that can be used in all your projects, from quilts to apparel. So go ahead and visit Reprint and Repurpose online at reprintandrepurpose.com. And remember to use your coupon code podcast10 for a discount on your order. Thank you so much, Reprint and Repurpose. Craft Industry Alliance is a community for craft professionals. When you become a member of Craft Industry Alliance, you get in-depth coverage of craft industry news, the opportunity to connect with fellow professionals for advice and support, and access to an educational library filled with ideas, tools, and resources to help you as you build your business. Join us at craftindustryalliance.org. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.